Hi, eighth grade. It is late on Tuesday night, and here I am making a video for you. Um, okay, we're going to talk about the Treaty of Fontainebleau. We discussed this a little bit before October break, but I wanted to review again some of the key details from the Spanish takeover of New Orleans. So some of this will be review, some of this will be new information. So yesterday we talked about the Natchez slave revolt. That was in 17 I don't know, like the late 1720s. Now, fast forward to 1762. All right, we're at the end of the French and Indian War. Remember, the French are fighting the British up here in Canada. And then, as you can see, when you look at these horizontal stripes, Spain gets a huge portion of North America, and the French are kicked out. Okay, so why does Spain get New Orleans and not Britain? That's a very good question. So, if France lost the French and Indian War to Britain, why did Spain get New Orleans? Well, there was a secret treaty made between Spain and France. So, Spain entered the war right before this treaty, and they wanted to help the French. And remember, from the break before the break, the kings were cousins. Carlos III and King Louis XV were cousins, and they were both Catholics. So the countries liked each other, and they both really hated the British. So France ceded or gave Louisiana to Spain, and it was secret because the British wanted New Orleans. So after this treaty, they negotiated for at the end of the French and Indian War for Britain to take everything east of the Mississippi River, and then Spain could control what was happening here in New Orleans. Now, that was actually really good for the French because the French were terrible at mismanaging their money here in North America, so they needed to go back to their country and help clean up the mess there because they had wasted so much money keeping soldiers in North America. And then also Spain was happy because down here in Cuba and Hispaniola, which is now today known as Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Spain had a bunch of colonies here, and they wanted to start doing trade between Cuba and taking their goods from the port at New Orleans up the Mississippi River. Okay. So it's actually kind of a really interesting story of what happened. So when France gave their power to Spain, the French sent a government official. And as it says here, he was looking around New Orleans in the French colony to see how things were. And I want you to look at what I'm highlighting here. In his report to France, he said the government was understaffed and corrupt, and the warehouse and the treasury were nearly empty. The French government was almost bankrupt and had sent the colony little other than complaints about its expense. So France was like, get this off our hands. Like, this New Orleans business, too expensive. We're going to give it to Spain. But when the power was transferred to Spain, how did the people of New Orleans feel about it? They were so angry. They felt betrayed by France. They did not want to be Spanish. They did not want to speak Spanish. And in a very French manner, they were irritated. A couple things that made the transition smooth, though, was that they both shared Catholicism. This picture here is a picture of the Pope. So the difference between Catholics and other kinds of Christians, because Catholics are a sect of Christianity, the Catholics follow the Pope as the head of their church, and he is located in Rome, Italy. Okay? And this is a picture of the Pope's palace in Rome. I actually was there last year. What else? So that's one thing that they did have in common. I'm going to get to my other slides in a second. I'll put that at the end. So they first installed this guy, Uyoya. I can't say it. Uyoya. He was that shy scientist man that didn't invite any of the French people to his balls, and they got really angry about it. And so they brought in this Irish guy who was lived in Spain. His name was Alejandro O'Reilly, but he was born in Ireland. And he came in and he basically quashed something called the Rebellion of 1768. So a bunch of Creole people were angry about Uyoya and they decided to rebel against him. So this guy, Bloody O'Reilly, was called in to kill them. He came in and was like, we got to get this colony together. France lost tons of money. We're going to try and make money. So O'Reilly was actually pretty cool. It wasn't cool that he executed the Creole rebels. He murdered all of them, or he executed them. But he started to do a lot of interesting things. So he regulated what could be traded. He started to control trading policies. He set up trading agreements with Spanish colonies. Remember, Spain wanted to trade with their colonies in Cuba. So he set up agreements there. He created a bunch of laws. He was the one that decided to build this building called the Cabildo, or the Cabildo, I guess. And he made this new law system that was under the governance of the Spanish government. Okay. And actually, this is just like a nerdy architectural point because Miss Dodd is a huge nerd. You have this building below that Spanish architecture, and then it's actually a French roof, which is, I think, a really cool example of cultural diffusion. Okay. What else did he do? O'Reilly started to bring the peace, make peace again with the Native Americans. So at the end of Bienville's time, things started to unravel. O'Reilly patched things up. So he came in, quashed the rebellion, said, no more rebellion, I'm going to hang everybody, and I'm going to start to try and make Spanish New Orleans prosperous and peaceful. Not like this ragamuffin town of ruffians that it was before, when it was owned by the French. Final fun fact, or not so fun if you think this was the most boring video you've ever watched, I apologize. This is a cool thing, and you can talk to somebody, talk to your parents at dinner or whatever. Why is the French Quarter called the French Quarter? Well, a lot of people think that these buildings here with the wrought iron balconies are actually French because they're in the French Quarter. But that is not true. The only reason why the French Quarter is called that is because it was created during Bienville's time in 1718. The French Quarter buildings, though, are actually, most of them were most of them were built when the Spanish were in control. So these are Spanish-style buildings, but they're in the French Quarter, which I think is interesting. You should tell people that they should call the French Quarter the Spanish Quarter. And with that, I leave you. Have a nice day.